Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a 9/11 remembrance story. And this is going way back, 24 years and X amount of hours. First off, everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. I don't think Dashi was alive back then. Each one has their own story, where they were, and I'm curious about yours, so comment down below. Curious to read them. I did ask this question years ago on Facebook. It was about 7 years ago I asked that. And I was curious on what happened in other people's countries. So I just asked a few people that I knew, and friend Brittany, who lived in Canada, says it was just shock. No one could believe it actually happened. She was in ninth grade at the time. She's older than me, okay. My mom was walking me out of school for a dentist appointment when she told me the news. She had no clue what the World Trade Center was, because she was in Canada, lived under a rock. When she got back from the dentist, teachers were all huddled in the library around a TV watching the news. My friend Jesselyn, that's also in Canada, so she woke up that morning before Regis and Kelly. I thought Regis and Kathy Lee was still on. Okay, I guess it was Regis and Kelly at the time. Show didn't start as usual, said it was quiet. She watched the second tower get hit live, and that's something we'll talk about as well. Her eldest daughter was 3 at the time. She panicked, watched people jump out of windows. Friend Shelley, that's in Australia, had said that she was 12, turned on TV, went to change a channel, not knowing what was unfolding, and had the same thing on every channel. Mom got up and they watched the second tower get hit live. So yeah, that was a thing. So when I was in 5th grade, I was 10 years old, and we see our principal come in to the room, and she, tells the teacher to come here, whispered something to her, and again, this is like first, second week of school, like we'd, maybe they're friends, but whatever. I remember maybe like 30 seconds later, she goes to one of the teachers across the hall, says, "Hey, can you watch my class for a minute?" Says, "Yeah." And we're just, all right, doing our work. And then, as a lot of kids in the 90s know, when you have a TV on wheels come into your room, you think, oh, okay, this is, we can watch a movie. And she's like, as soon as she gets there, like, this is not for a movie. This is not a good time. And she starts explaining to us as she's setting it up and plugging it in. It's like, the administration has told me that forget, it was 20-something years ago. Not going to be word for word, but she's like, the Twin Towers have been hit by an aircraft. The administration has told me not to tell you guys because they don't think you're adult enough. But she was from China originally, and she said that I come from a place where I've seen what happens when the powers that be don't tell its citizens like what's actually going on, and that's not what's going to happen in my classroom. So us at 10 years old, turn the TV on and watch the news, and it's horrible. And then, as Jesselyn said, like there's some people jumping out, and we're like, oh my god, this is wild. I feel like the 90s and early 2000s was the Wild West for internet and stuff like that. I think like a year later, we all saw someone get decapitated on one of those websites. I remember my friend Justin showing me a lot of stuff. Anyway, we saw the second tower get hit live, and was like, oh my god, this is and on the while this is all happening, every like 30 seconds, you have an announcement that normally I think they could go to each room and like announce it in this one specific room, but I think there was so much probably happening in that front office of this elementary school that was saying like, hey, we're so much called like, we're not going to try to bother look up what numbers what, we're just going to announce it to the whole school. Can this person be sent to the office? Can this person be sent to the office? Because you had all the parents that like so we knew that like all the parents, okay, they're picking up their kids, like they're going home. And again, we're on Long Island. We're like 50 minutes, maybe an hour outside the city. So we're not in like Texas, but we're far enough away where okay. I mean, I was still left in school. But by the time lunch came around, And by the way, we're like the only class that like knew what was going on, because like no other teacher, because elementary school, so it goes like kindergarten to grade 5, and I think the kindergartners eat like alone, and then first and second and third like eat, and then it's like fourth and fifth graders that eat in the cafeteria. So there was no recess that day. We were in the cafeteria, and because we're like the only class that knew what was going on, because no other teacher like did what our teacher did, we were like telling people like, no, like this is what's happening. Like we have this TV. Our teacher told us this, and yet some kids like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, no, like we saw this second tower like hit like live, and then I think we got in trouble for like telling people, and like he didn't tell us not to tell anyway. So that was insane, and then again, by the end of the day, there's maybe a couple kids left in my class. Most of the rest of them either got picked up by their parents or another relative if their parents weren't. Like I have a friend that I think both of them were New York City cops. I don't know if his sister picked him up or if he just didn't get picked. Like either way, it's a crazy day. And some very strange, because there was a couple of buses, because I took the bus home, that had like 2 kids. Normally they're packed with like 20, 30 kids or whatever. But these buses, like they had about, there were some buses that had like 3 kids in them. I think my bus had, I don't know, I forget what side, go to my normal stop, go home. And then it's like, you couldn't pick me up like everyone else. It was, yeah, wild day. And then my teacher got very, I want to say obsessed with it. Just like there were multiple times that week when like that cart came in and we'd just be watching the news and follow up on it. I think just because she knew like that was history, and like, I mean, whatever lessons we had for that week probably pushed to the next one, because I guess she deemed that as super important, which, okay, fair point, it was. So, and then there was someone, I got to hear this story later when I was in high school, where this one guy that was like a substitute teacher was in this high school when it happened, and he's just like, yeah, most people like kind of weren't doing anything, or like we were all just kind of not doing anything. By midday, we all like knew what happened, and this one teacher, the one he was subbing for, tried to act like nothing ever happened, and it's like, yeah, let's let's all do our work, and he like got like smart with his like F off, and then he walked out. I was like, damn. Yeah, I don't know, some teachers, tenure I know can make certain schools look respectable, the amount of tenured teachers you have, but also sometimes it makes the teachers teach like poop. Anyway, some of the stories I had, there was, I knew someone that was a letter carrier for Maspeth and Queens, and had said that I think he had like just like a Walkman with him, and wasn't really listening to the news or anything, just like I guess just music, and he had seen like the fire from the like of the towers, like from Queens, and he just thought like, oh, it must be a huge fire. And then when I got back to the post office, there's a whole bunch of other postal workers that were like there, that was just like, hey, like they heard what was going on through their whatever piece of technology that you had in '01, like these little like radios, and they're like, they weren't delivering the mail. I was like, we're not delivering today. And wild. Now that I think about it, I knew a couple of friends that had cops and firefighters in the family at that time. And shout out to Abe or anyone that just does that first responder work, because that is, you risk your lives for that. So shout out to everyone that does that. And also link down below to First Responders Children's Foundation. Was able to raise a bunch of money with them last month for charity. So they're great too. My friend Anton says that in Russia, the media started translating it live almost as soon as it happened, and kept translating for very long on many channels. Damn, that's wild. Yeah, crazy days. We'll always remember. So every year I watch this documentary called Boat Lift, And it's just about how and for those of you that don't know, like, yeah, Manhattan is a crazy big city, but it's also an island. And on this day, for the first time, I think, like, ever, well, in modern history, the only way in or out of New York City, because they shut down the bridges, they shut down the trains, the Long Island Railroad, they shut down everything. So the only way in and out of the city at this time was by water. It was by boat. And if you're in New York, you've probably never been on a boat before. Like, if you're in New York City, like, you've probably never been in the water. I've had, and I don't know why this is, but I've had people for years that have come visit me from various parts of the world, and they're like, oh, I want to do this, and I was, like, can you show me, like, best way to go to, like, the Empire State Building, or can you show, what are the best times to go to Statue of Liberty? And I'm like, I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. He's like, what? You live here? I was like, New Yorkers just don't go to the Statue of Liberty. You don't really go to the top of the Empire State Building. Like, it's just, you don't need to. Anyway, yeah, it's a lot of things surprise you about New Yorkers. They don't, a lot of us don't swim. A lot of us never been on a boat. And yeah, in this documentary, they had this wild statistic saying that up until 9/11, the biggest sea evacuation was Dunkirk, where, like, 300,000, I think, French and British soldiers were evacuated over the course of, like, 9 days, like 30,000 a day. Okay, it's a lot. But on 9/11, the Coast Guard, like, made this call because, like, everyone's coming to, like, the water's edge, and they're like, again, you don't know, like, if there's gonna be another attack, because, again, 2 planes hit, 2 buildings, technically 3 buildings collapsed because of Building 7. That is a whole other thing. And they're just scared, like, hey, like, is this whole city gonna blow? And the Coast Guard is just like, we can't handle this, but, let's make the call to everyone that has a boat, everyone that has whether it's a ferry boat, party boat, work boat, whatever, come, like, help with the evacuation of Manhattan. And it was, I think, over 500,000 people were evacuated in 9 hours. And I was like, oh my God, that is insane. So again, shout out to everyone that was able to help. Shout out to the dogs that were sniffing for people in the rubble for days after that. As just, yeah, horrible times. But no, usually I would have this, tell this story and talk about these things past a couple days with a drink in my hand, but I've been sober since August 31st. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep it up. I'm trying to get in shape. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Just wanted to share that, and curious to your guys' stories as well. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. Love you guys. Meow, meow, meow.